All right. What's up, everybody? Well, we've finally got Uncapped Games revealing their upcoming RTS. They've said it's going to be paradigm shifting. They've said it's going to change what it means to be an RTS. And a lot of people out there have heard, people like myself who were flown out a few months ago to play the game saying we really enjoyed the game and found it very addictive. But we haven't been able to share anything more with you. And finally, now that they've revealed things, I can explain what the heck is going on in this game. So first things first, this is an RTS that changes what it means to be an RTS. Normally an RTS is like 50% or 80% base building, sometimes 95% base building with like a They Are Billion style game. This is more combat focused. It's more about the strategy of when to expand, where to tech, what units you choose in your loadout. That's right, it's a deck building RTS. You pick a deck of 8 units. You can see that on the panel in the bottom left when the army's not selected, like right there. It's kind of scaled back and simplified, and you'd think it's almost dumbed down and, well, if there's no base building, you just pick some units and run them at each other. Is there really that much going on? Well, there is quite a lot going on. Don't get me wrong, it is a simplified version of RTS, but picking the right units, using their abilities, and trying to counter the opponent's units, but also choosing when to attack, when to defend, and the basic kind of fundamental RTS strategy of when should I expand, when should I tech up, when should I split my army up and go after their resource lines? When should I, try and grab my army together for one big push? When should I turtle up at home? When should I attack? This is something that even low-level players get right into the moment they start playing. So, let's just go over the fundamentals first of all and explain this so you actually know what the heck I'm talking about. We've just got some gameplay of some games they've recorded themselves here in the background. You'll notice these bases. So to expand, it's a single button press. That's all you need to do, and it just plops the base down in a preset expansion pattern, okay? You also have a deck you've chosen. You choose 8 units. You have different slots. So you get some basic units, and then you can also have ones from the Foundry, which is like your ground upgrade, and the Advanced Foundry, so that's like tier 3 ground. And there's the Starforge, which is kind of your air, and Advanced Starforge, tier 3 air, right? So you've got kind of like tier 2 ground, basic units, tier 2 ground, tier 3 ground, tier 2 air, tier 3 air. Cost the exact same amount to expand, 400, 400. 400 red, which I think it's called requisition and power. To expand, same to upgrade to one of those tech levels as well. So at the start, you've got your 8 units, right? Right from the beginning, you've got your income coming in, and every time you expand, it takes a minute from your base coming in before those workers spawn in, and then they just start mining. And they mine a mixture of both resources. I think it's like a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 ratio. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. Something like that. The other thing is units build instantly. There's just no base building. Like I said, pressing that button to build your expansion is the only thing that you actually do in this game in terms of base building. And it goes in a preset expansion pattern. So right now, this blue-green team we're watching, for instance, if they want to take a 5th base, that's actually going to expand up here, right next to the enemy's main, which on the current map is right there. So that's kind of hilarious. You'll sometimes use that with these blue units, these recall units. So you can actually, when your enemy's retreating, you quickly build a base there and then instantly recall behind their army to cut them off. A very cool move David Kim told me about, and the first time I managed to pull it off when I was playing the game was incredibly satisfying. Okay, so the game's really simple in that regard. What's another big thing that's so different? Notice the timer at the top? That started at 10 minutes. It is a maximum map time of 10 minutes. And you will, when you're learning this game, often have games that last for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's not uncommon for games to be over very quickly. And that's actually what I like about this game, because I think a lot of people were worried when they first heard it's not as much macro, not as much base building, like, you're going to just make it all so user-friendly and boring. But you'll notice these fights are quick and brutal. They are incredibly fast-paced, and stuff can go down really, really quickly. If it does get to 9 minutes, basically it shows you a score, which is based on, I imagine, how many units you've killed, a mixture of that, maybe how much money you've kind of harvested as well. And it actually shows a score on the screen with like a bar. So once it gets to the last minute, if you're already a bit behind, you probably have lost the game. There's not, I'm going to turtle this out and kind of fight back from behind, because, well, say you're down 20% on the score, you're then suddenly forced to attack into your opponent, which usually being forced to attack in any RTS when your opponent can set up a better defensive position is not quite going to work out. Oh my gosh, I forgot this was the game with the Kraken. I have not had a chance to play with that unit. That thing costs an insane amount. Our red and orange team were kind of playing with less investment in their army for a very, very long time, and they've saved up for this ridiculous unit, which I have not had a chance to play with the Kraken, and it's just tanking and doing splash damage at an insane amount. I think it costs 3,000. It is a ridiculous unit. I think you can have more than one of them. I don't think they're big on hero units or anything like that at all, but I think this unit is just so ridiculously expensive that you'll almost never even get them out in a 1v1. Honestly, it's pretty rare for the game to be stalemated enough for you to save up that many resources. All right, so my first impressions of playing the game for 2 days over there in the LA offices when they flew me over to playtest was that the game was incredibly addictive. They didn't give us a lot of info to go on. They just kind of gave us the very basics, sat us down and just let us play the game. And a bunch of us playtesters, we were all kind of just naturally matchmaking against each other, like on the local server. I played a game and then another game and then another game. And I think what I found so satisfying was the iteration. One of the most frustrating things in RTS games can be the fact that you'll play against, say, a battlecruiser rush in StarCraft, or someone will proxy Siege Workshop in Age of Empires. It's one of these kind of frustrating, cheesier strategies, something that requires a bit of a specific response. You'll go, okay, and even if you figure out what you want to do next time against it, it can take you many repetitions to get it. What I liked about this game is it remained just as frustrating as those RTS that I love, where like someone just stomps you with some crazy strategy you haven't seen. The difference is you'd basically be like, okay, that was a 3.5 minute game. These games are quick, and I also don't know how those units work. So you know what? I'm gonna use those units that they just used on me. There's like very much, this happens in card games a lot. Oh my god, my opponent's deck is broken. I'm gonna copy their deck. I'm gonna do the same thing. So there was this kind of joy of like naturally figuring out the game, going, oh my god, these units are so broken, they're so good. And then the next person I play would destroy me, and I'd just like swap most of my units out to the units they were using, and I'd go, oh, okay, let's try those. You can see, by the way, another factor I didn't talk about. So if we freeze on this screen of the footage, by the way, you can actually hold down a button to see when your opponents are upgrading. You see how there's like, it looks like there's cooldowns on some of these units? That's because they're upgrading. So Stefan at the top right, the red one, he's upgrading towards his Starforge to get air units. And MS Cal, the orange player here, is upgrading to his Foundry to get tier 2 airs are getting upgraded top right, tier 2 ground here. And on the bottom left, we've got tier 2 ground with Uncapped Ted is getting mortars, and David Kim in the top left is also getting tier 2 ground. He's getting like this little raider unit and another unit that he's got in his loadout. But this is kind of crazy because you can see when your opponent expands, it gives you a warning when they start teching, and you can always hold this button down to check the loadout as well and kind of see the direction they're going. So when it comes to scouting is dumbed down in this game in that regard, but scouting army positionings and tactical scouting is still very important. So rather than scouting the back of your opponent's base, trying to get in and see their tech and make those really complicated bits of scouting, all of the scouting in this game is purely based on where is their army and how do I defend my bases and try to hit their bases without getting caught out. Okay, so back to my feeling of playing the game. It was just incredibly addictive to get in quick repetitions and feel like I could iterate and learn very, very quickly and kind of correct mistakes, try new things, try different loadouts. And the games, it just felt like it was still so satisfying when I'd pull off a strategy and catch someone and just crush them. Quick, but confident, crushing, high damage, satisfying engagements. And the units are also very responsive. But it didn't have the same frustration in terms of the learning curve. And this is kind of wild to me because even as an RTS pro gamer, I still learn RTSs very slowly. Like my experience with learning RTS is always the same. There's a lot of like opening a game against an AI or no opponent and just looking at tooltips and looking at unit stats and trying to memorize numbers and figure out tech trees. All of that super hardcore RTS stuff is taken away with this. And it really does remove the barrier to entry. And that's why I'm excited for this game in terms of it being something where, is it going to replace StarCraft for me? There's no way. There's no way this game replaces StarCraft for me or Age of Empires in terms of those big base building, managing your economy and tech RTSs. But I really feel like I can play this with all of my friends who don't have time to play StarCraft anymore. I feel like I'm going to get them all back into the RTS train, number one. And number two, I think they're going to actually experience big battles and tactical decisions in a way they never got to a skill level where they were able to appreciate that in StarCraft or Age of Empires, right? You know, I always feel like a lot of the guys, my friends I play Age of Empires with, 2 knights get in their woodline and everything falls apart. They spend 20 minutes macroing into dying to a couple of knights getting in their worker line. It's the same thing in StarCraft. But in this sort of game, I feel like whilst, yeah, you're still going to get trounced by a much higher level player, as you find people who are on your level, you're going to be experiencing a game with like a lot of countering each other, and like really you're going to feel like you're playing the strategy game when you're choosing when to expand, when to defend, when to attack, and all that sort of stuff. So for me, I'm really fascinated because I've only really seen pros playing this game and myself and high-level players. I want to see what happens when my really casual friends who all have kids and mortgages start playing this game. And for me, that's going to be the most exciting thing is I feel like it has that potential to bring them a really deep RTS experience because it's just the fighting RTS bit. The picking the units, moving the units around, that's as deep as ever. You scaled back the base building, the economy management, and all that other stuff. And is that going to actually do what people have been trying to do for years, which is bring the joy of big RTS battles and awesomeness to the people? I think it will. I think it's going to come at a cost. The game is a bit simpler, a bit scaled back in some regards, but I really see this as a game that's going to be a lot of fun, especially if they keep releasing new units, new maps, and you see a lot of like deck building swap-ups in like a best of 7, best of 9 grand finals across different maps. I think you're going to have really, really exciting games, and as an esport, it's going to be lightning fast, but actually I think quite fun as well. All right, so let's actually get in and cast the game. We've got Stefan on the right, David Kim on the left. And we're going to be watching from David's point of view. He's playing an incredibly fast-paced style. You can see his little command card in the bottom left. He's got wasps. They are the Zergling of this game. He's also got bombers, which are the banelings. And he's got his little anti-air jet bike things. Normally, you pick one anti-air, base 1 unit. You don't have to, but you're going to struggle if you don't. And you only really want to build that usually if they build air units. Though Wardy and a few other guys are telling me actually about how there's some cool all-ins you can do otherwise. But essentially, so check this out. At the moment, he fast expanded was the first thing he did, as did his opponent. And now he's just going to be charging across the map. I'm going to hide my camera for this cast, just so I'm not obscuring any of the action now that we are actually commentating a game. So notice he's got his little wasps kind of ganged up on both sides. And at any moment, so he sees his opponent started teching, and he's going to reactively tech into air. So he saw Stefan went for the Foundry, so the tier 2 ground tech. He's going to go for tier 2 air. He's got Butterflies, which is a beautiful move and shoot air unit, but he's also got this sort of one of the few ground units that can be built off of the Starforge, which is like a hover tank. Now, notice these wasps go in, they try to run away. They're fighting the Scorpions. I haven't played with the Scorpions yet. They are one of the newer units that we haven't had a chance to play test. But they do seem like just like a kind of frontline meaty fighter. But look at how many worker kills he got. So luring Stefan out of position with the wasps running into the main, running them away without losing any, and then trading these very expendable wasps for all those workers on the natural. That was a massive amount of damage. Now, they're both taking third bases, but these wasps are going to run in. And notice he's always splitting his wasps into 2 squads. So one runs in from one side, tries to pull him out of position, and then the other squad of wasps either goes around the back or goes for a giant surround. Oh, no, I think he's got to back away. I don't think he can take this fight. Yeah, he's going to back away right now. We're seeing this from David's point of view, of course. So his Starforge is done, and he's building Butterflies. Okay, so he's swapping into air right now because he's like, hey, you've spent money on Scorpions only. I don't see anything that shoots up. So he's already got a few Butterflies out. I think he's actually rallied them across the bottom of the map. Even though he didn't look at home, I'm pretty sure he just set his rally down the bottom right, and he's rallied, yeah, 2 Butterflies. So he's going to go use these 2 workarounds. It's an air unit that shoots ground. Now, these are a new unit I also haven't had a chance to play with, but they are insane. They're called Shockers. They're quite expensive, but you can see they just killed an entire mineral line. They only attack workers. They don't attack anything else, but they're super fast, and they kill workers so fast. Now, you can see the Butterflies do pretty okay as well. A little bit of miss micro there. He does kill only about 5 workers or 6 when he could have maybe killed a few more. And you can see those anti-air gunbots are kind of moving over to try and deal with that. He's now going to go for a frontal attack. You see he's got those hover tanks I was talking about that he can build off the Starforge. At the same time, Butterflies are on the bottom right. The Scorpions coming forward. The Wasps are getting a big surround. Look at this massive investment in anti-air units by Stefan. I think that's a big mistake for Stefan because anti-air units aren't as good at fighting on the ground, generally for their cost. And getting them all surrounded, this is a huge mistake. And I think a lot of his anti-air units also were busy down here. You see these Butterflies. Oh, David's just got him over-responding to everything. No answer to the Wasp swarm, and that's it. GG. All right, well, that was a really quick game. I figured let's go straight into another one and watch another game where he's also playing Wasps again with a slightly different loadout. He's got like different air units and ground units available as the follow-up. But once again, David versus Stefan. These are the 2 main devs, by the way. David Kim's been Grandmaster with Random in the early days of StarCraft 2. Stefan was a Dawn of War pro gamer back in the early 2000s. So they're both very passionate nerds who are, you know, kind of come from that esports side of things, which you might not expect because I really feel like the game is quite casual friendly as well. It's weird. I don't know. I feel like they've got a pretty good design philosophy. They want the brutal, satisfying engagements mixed with the accessibility. And I think they've done a pretty good job. But the reason I'm excited for you guys to get playing it soon is because I don't know. I don't know if that's just my view of a casual gamer as people will like it. For me, I feel like it's just such a fun game to get into, but who knows? Maybe it is just the arcade version of a pro gamer's fantasy of what RTS is. But definitely talking to all the devs who weren't pro gamers about what they really enjoyed about playing it, because they seemed pretty hooked on it as well. It was pretty cool. Now notice here, okay, so the Wasps are going to dive in. They get quite a few workers, but I kind of feel like we could have finished a few of those off. We only got 5 workers there. And you can see he's kind of like moving his army around on the minimap a lot. So this is interesting. He's also pressing that button to check the tech there. Both sides are teching up right now. Wasp's getting ready for an attack. Oh, he's going to go for a surround maybe. But the gunbots can hide behind... Oh, the workers haven't spawned in. Oh, without workers there. So when the workers are spawned in, you can get behind the worker line and it kind of blocks for you. But actually, the rest of the gunbots come in. The Wasps end up backing away. So David going for the surround there may not feel that good. Now, keep in mind, Wasps are really fast, very mobile. They seem overpowered when you first play against them, but they scale terribly. So you normally, you really need to get value out of them earlier and try to force small trades. The longer you let the game go, the more problematic it becomes. Then notice, oh, that's a good run by on the 3rd and the 4th base in the bottom. But, oh, down the 4th, these units get caught. They run away. Clearing the whole worker line on the 3rd, though, is pretty massive. And the question is, what's Davey saving his money up for? Because he's kind of like, he's waiting to show his hand. Okay, he just built something. I think it was just more Wasps. Notice he's saving all of his power, guys. All of his blue resource. He's got 4 bases. Oh, okay, he's just spending it now. He's got dragonflies coming out. Okay, I think those are dragonflies. So he's going to run down south with a bunch of dragonflies and try and hit that base. Interesting. I think dragonfly, I thought it was mostly an anti-air superiority air unit, but I haven't used them too much. Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. What are those big boys? Okay. So that's actually one of the big boys I haven't seen too much of there. I think it's an assault bot, I believe is the name of that unit. But as I said, lots of new units that I have no chance to play with, so my casting's going to be pretty subpar here. Okay, he's going to go for worker run bys. Oh, losing one though. Don't want to be losing air units for single worker kills. Remember, worker kills, yeah, it removes a fair bit of money, but maybe not as much as you want. Oh, look at that. The shockers are there, guys. Those shockers doing big electricity splash damage as well. Youchies. Okay, so you got to be very careful with that. Man, I wonder what we're going to be doing next as Davey. You see, he's getting these Starforge hover tank Striders, I think they're called, something like that. Striders, Stalkers, something like that. They're a decent unit, but their main power is their mobility. They pair well with the Wasps because it adds some ranged firepower behind. But in terms of raw stats, like, this army of Davey sucks. It's very weak compared to just the gunbots and whatnot being built by Stefan on the right side. So we're going to go in, try and catch out those shockers. One of them does go down. Oh, 2 of them go down. But the rest of the units are there, and we are losing quite a few units each time that happens. Another one of those Striders does fall as well. And at the same time, okay, we're going to go for a bit of a base trade, it looks like. I think he realizes he can't really fight front on. Oh my god. Okay, getting those shock tanks down. Oh my gosh, you see how quick the combat is with this. This army composition is the most frenetic, crazy army comp. It is so fast-paced. He's not going to go for the main base snipe. You can try to snipe the enemy's main base. That is the win condition, I believe. Actually, no. I think you have to kill all their bases. So I think you can just rebuild the main. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can, actually. But it's just going to snipe a few bases. Looks like Stefan's going to continue it on the other side. You can see he's moving his screen around a bit frantically. But, oh, man, dude, Wasps just aren't going to help much in this scenario. But they're the only way for him to dump his first resource, his requisition. He's going to pull right back. Maybe, he doesn't have bombers. If he had bombers and could spawn a bunch of them, that'd be good. But, oh, he goes for the surround. I don't think it matters, though. That's just like a death ball, man. Look at the splash damage, how much it wrecks his Wasps. His Wasps are getting absolutely destroyed. He's spawning everything in. Dude, the Dragonflies trying to come into the right side. They're adding a little bit of damage, but it's really not that much. And that is going to be that. He's going to have to GG there. Just a giant death. Well, he killed most of Stefan's bases. They're both only on 2. But as you can see, this is not going to be enough units spawning to actually kill anything. So that's going to be GG. All right, guys. So we've got a very different matchup here. This time, Davey's going to be playing with the recall units. So there's a whole set of units that all have recall. It's only got a 7-second global cooldown, maybe 9 seconds, something very short. You can teleport, or recall, sorry, to any of your bases. But you can see this basic recall soldier, it's literally just called the recall, I'm pretty sure. The anti-air one is called the recall hunter. It's very slow. It's a decent fighter, but it's just incredibly slow. Obviously, to make up for the fact that, hey, you can just teleport across the map. And he's going to be playing against the Wasps. So we can see what it's like on the receiving end, defending that Zergling-style unit in the early game. And you'll notice he's very careful to keep them clumped up in the back. But what you're going to be watching for is, notice 1 minute into the game, when 9 minutes ticks down at the very top, these workers are going to spawn in on the base. And that's when you need to be ready to defend that worker line. So that's 1 minute after you start building the base, right? And the first thing you do, usually at the start of most games in the current meta, is build an expansion. Don't get me wrong. Some of us were winning with 1-based expansions our first day of playing the game, but... So he's going to have to recall over there, but how does he split his units? So notice he's letting the third base tank a little bit more. He's going to now recall a few of these guys, but he's got to be careful not to get them surrounded. And remember, your units build instantly. So you want to keep just tabbing over to that build button and just do it. And remember, it's only a single button press to upgrade your tech, a single button press to build units, and you could set that rally for those units wherever you want. Anytime you have your building selection selected, which I believe is tab to swap between army versus building, you can set the rally point just by right-clicking. So basically, you just tab, pump a bunch of units, right-click them where you want to go, or right-click first, then build them. And then you can tab back to your select all army, which is like kind of the default selection. And then you just like box things to manually do stuff. This is a lot of workers going down. Oh, I think he might have messed up with that recall timing. He does lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Killed a lot of wasps. I mean, the problem is you're losing power. You're losing second resource every time that happens. And the wasp player, remember, because the wasps are their main way of dumping their requisition. I'm pretty sure that's the... I could be saying the manpower, whatever the first resource is. I'm going to call it requisition, but I could be wrong on that. They want to trade their requisition out for your power. Because you're going to build splash damage units later and things that are going to counter them. So they really want to make sure they're not in trouble. Now, to be fair, what's interesting, guys, is... Oh god, hold on. He's gonna have to recall to defend his natural. He's trying to get a few units there. Is he recalling everything? No, just a few. So he's just recalling a few. He's continuing with his other guys. He doesn't want to send them home. He's like, screw it. Get in there, sniper base, and then recall them. He loses every single worker on his natural. Oh gosh, and king crabs! King crabs, they're kind of like an ultralisk. They're not as tanky as an ultralisk, but they do crazy damage and splash damage. Looks like the recording they sent me bugged out a little bit there, but that should be a-okay. Going to be coming down. So he snipes the base, and then he could try to kill a few of these guys and then recall, but you don't want to stay too long. Oh god, the swift shockers in there. Those are swift shockers. I think they do a slight splash damage. Very slow on the recall. I think that was a big mistake for Davey. Oh, but wait, no. He just took an offensive 5th base in the north. If you look at the minimap, he's coming down here from the north. So he purposely waited as long as possible to wait for that 5th base to go down so he could recall offensively, kill a base, and then recall out again. Oh, that's such a dirty move. Question is, can he defend the counter push that comes? And he's going to lose his 5th base that he built there. Obviously, that's too far away to defend. I mean, sometimes you can try to recall it. But interesting, he's building a new unit called the Mammoth, guys. So the Mammoth here is a big tanky boy. I haven't used them, but I believe they're meant to be kind of... I don't know if they do splash damage at all, but I think they're just a good tank and single fire damage unit. So I think having those in front to defend your mass recall guys from anything is going to be useful. Notice he's got a couple of advanced recalls in as well to add just a little bit of power to his army. They're decent. They're the guys with the kind of 2 pistols. If you see them kind of bobbing around, there's just a couple of them mixed in. So we've given up our 5th and our 4th base. You might be wondering, guys, why isn't he defending his bases? Well, keep in mind, look at the minimap. Stefan's only on 2 base. He's still on 3. If he defends this base, he will win the game. And dude, the king crabs are stuck in the back. Big mistake for Stefan. Oh no, all of the king crabs, they finally get in on top, but they don't get on top of the recalls where they need to. They needed to be doing damage to the recalls, and so many swift shockers, which do nothing against the frontline mammoths. Those swift shockers from Stefan would have been much better if they got on top of the massed up recalls, and if the king crabs got on top of them. But that front line of mammoths just tanking with all the mass recall behind it, that was actually a really good, simple strategy there after using the recall. I mean, this is kind of the power of the recall army, guys, is it kind of feels like you're getting out position, but then you just sniper base, recall somewhere else, sniper base, recall home, and your opponent, if they don't quickly rebuild, they are all in. And these swift shockers, you could see they were getting a bit of splash damage on the recalls there. It's a little bit too little too late though, and that is going to be a win for Davey yet again. Victory. All right. Let's do one more last but not least here to give you guys a bit of flavor of what the heck is going on in these games. And we're going to be seeing Blink this time as our tier 1 unit choice. Looks like we've got Crusaders and the new sniper unit on tier 2, which is exciting. Crusaders are kind of tanky boy. It's very good at taking out big single, fat boy targets. Good against king crabs. Doesn't do splash damage though, so kind of bad against mass little guys. Sniper is amazing at taking out like mortars and basically any big dude from afar. It can outrange, I think, anything. As far as I can tell, I think it outranges the mortar by 1. Back when we played, that did not exist. You had to use destroyers to try to take care of mortars. which was a bit of a different story. It could work, but the sniper seems to be more of a hard counter unit they've added into the game. Mortars are kind of like a siege tank analogy. If you guys are like, what are you talking about? What's that? I'm trying to explain as I go, but I understand these games are so fast, it's going to be hard for you guys to catch it. Now, I think, did we lose a unit there? We might have. So obviously, trying to blink back. He wants to kill the gunbot and then run away. Run away. Get out. Okay. So early trades, you want to be very careful. You want to try and just kill units where you can and then get out. Looks like he misclicked, built a single anti-air. So he's got a single blink hunter in the mix. But notice he's trying to kill a gunbot, blink away. Kill a gunbot, blink away. You guys would recognize very much like stalkers in StarCraft 2. Pick off a unit, run away, trying to get value. You don't want to overcommit to these early fights. And remember, defender's advantage is huge because you can build units instantly. If you go deep in their side of the map, you will get swarmed. So early on, you're really looking for efficiency in this game. You're looking to pick off enemy units, get value out of your trades, and not kind of overcommit to anything. And sometimes that does lead to some more cautious players being purely defensive and waiting for their opponent to make the first play. But you'll find there's a lot of more aggressive players like Clem and Parting who were playing at the when they flew us into playtest. Were like always in your face, always aggressive, always looking for those trades. So I feel like it is still something where you can definitely have your own play style. Okay, so he's coming out with the Crusaders. These are, like I said, those big single target chunky boys. And he's going to try and use those to tank and then maybe do an offensive blink on top. Oh, he pulls back one of the weak Crusaders. He's pulling back another weak one. I don't know if they heal at all, but he's just going to use them to try and kill the base. Oh, okay. So he's going to try and blink back some of those guys to create an opening. But look at that. Those damaged Crusaders that survived doing pretty good damage. And we're going to kill a base and then just run away. Not a bad choice. So he's building more blinks right now, pulling back. And we haven't really seen Stefan show his hand just yet in terms of like, what are we building other than gunbots? Stefan's got a fourth base down the bottom. Okay, there we go. Oh, I think those are the big shock tanks, right? I think those do splash damage. Got to be careful with your blinkers. You do not want to get hit by those. Ooh. Yeah. That thing definitely does splash damage. Shock tank, I think it might be called. It's going to be really good against your mass guys. So you probably want to get snipers to deal with it. The Crusader run by comes in, so you end up trading. It's 2 base versus 2 base here. If the Crusaders get caught on the way home, that would actually be really good for Stefan. But it looks like the Crusaders will make it home. Yeah, I don't think there's any healing of your units in this game. I could be wrong on that. I feel like someone told me if you go back to your main base, they do heal up slowly. But I'm sure at some point they'll probably add healing units. Oh gosh, we just lost our second base. Oh gosh. He's trying to upgrade. He's about to get to the next tech. He's trying to hang on until he gets to it. Okay, so there we go. Snipers just came out. He's got the snipers, guys. The snipers need to be targeted on the shock tanks, though. You can see he's trying to target. Oh, we got it. That's a destroyer that he targeted. And you can see beautiful sniper usage. That was really clutch by David Kim. He was pulling back, giving up every single base. Now, rather than re-expanding, which I actually think he could do here, I think he could re-expand and be back in this game because he's got such a big army advantage. He's going to go for a counter all-in. He's like, okay, you killed all my expansions. I'm only on 1 base, but I crushed your army so one-sidedly. It's go time. But actually, he does build an expansion behind it, interestingly. Okay, so he's kind of doing a bit of both. He's like, all right, we're going to counterattack. The snipers are pretty slow. You can see they're trailing behind. Blinking in here would be crazy. Do not do it. Okay, you see those 2 destroyers? Those are kind of like snipers in there. They do massive single-shot damage. So anytime you have like a little skirmish, those destroyers are just going to like one-shot your small units. But snipers are going to take care of them very easily. Look at this, the range on those snipers. But oh, the air swap. Oh no, here comes the, oh, what are those guys called? Oh, I'm forgetting their name. But these guys are, as you can see, quite slow. But they are just a floating weapons platform, an anti-ground beast. Those flyers. And you do not want to be fighting against those. We're having our whole push. This is why you don't want to overcommit to an attack, because same thing that happened to Stefan, where he went too deep on the main base. If he killed the natural and got his army out, he would have actually been in a much better position. And just then as well, we saw we overextended. We lost all of our snipers. And now we're probably, I would say, dead in this game. I could be wrong on that. You can see we're building some of these big, I don't know if they're assault bots or whatever they're called. This is like the big tier 2 anti-air unit that I was talking about. I don't think they have splash damage, but they may do. We'll see how well they do up against those flying weapons platforms, as I call them, those gunship-looking beasts. We do actually, if you had Starforge, you could build the some of the other guys. There's an anti-air ship, like a Viking type thing that he has available. This is his natural though. He's trying to split his army up and come home while sending a few units across the map. He's just going to try and target the base. Oh, no, he's got to defend his main. He's got to defend his main. Oh, God, don't lose your main base. Don't lose your main base. He's trying to get back here. Main base is tankier than your other bases. Oh, he morphs in some Crusaders. Good move. Is it going to be enough, though? Oh, he needs more anti-air as well as anti-ground. Oh, my gosh. And he's getting sandwiched back at home. Oh, yeah, he's dead. He's dead. Look at that. And because there's mammoths for Stefan as well. So he had mammoths up front. He had a few shock tanks. He had the flyers as well. Really well played by Stefan. Despite overcommitting a bit on this attack, the air swap was perfect. All right, gang. Well, I hope you enjoyed the first look at the game. I'm personally very excited for it because I feel like this is such a game that's so easy to get into in the modern age of gaming, where it's all about making it easy to hop in and play a game with friends, especially now that they've got the 2v2 format as well, which they didn't have a chance for us to playtest before. I am just excited. I don't know if they're going to have more than 2v2, but even if it's just 1v1 and 2v2, I mean, it's just a fun game that's easy to get into. I don't think this is going to ever fulfill the fantasy of managing your economy and base building and teching in all these different directions and managing wall-offs and all of those fancy things that I love your classic RTSs for. But I think it steps into the sphere and really specializes in unit choices. The deck building mechanic is obviously big for that. So unit choices, counters, tech choices, choosing when to attack and where to defend, so tactical choices, and just lots of army management and big battles. And for me, what I felt was so special about this game, and do still feel, is that within like 5 to 6 minutes, I can feel like I've had 3 or 4 massive battles that were kind of meaningful, and like there were decisions going into how they were taken, and I feel like, oh, I made this mistake, or I did this thing right, I did that thing wrong. And normally in an RTS, you could play 3 20-minute games and feel like you have 1 or 2 meaningful battles sometimes, or like 1 battle a game. And this is like, oh my god, in a fraction of that time, I'm getting that little part of RTS in such a concentrated dose that it's highly addictive. And that, for me, is why I've often described this game, before I could actually show any gameplay, as like, it has a very tight, addictive gameplay loop. It has this like, you're going to get fun combat, make unit choices, make big battle, micro armies around, have an intense battle, but you're going to do it in maximum 10 minutes per game. And that for me is exciting. I really can't wait to see, though, what the more casual gamers and the wider population think once they get their hands on and play it. For me, my whole conception is from playing the game, not from watching it. So even after this video, I think a lot of you still won't really know what it's like to play the game until you get a chance to play it yourself. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think and whether you're excited or not. And I'm really freaking keen to find out, like, hey, does this excite you? Does this actually look cool? Or do you think, nah, this is dumb, looks like a mobile game? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye and good night.
Every win is earned. Bravo.